Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host Jay. I'm here with my co-host Brad.
I mean, give the people what they want, Jay.
All right, another bright story to start us off. Henry Kissinger, at the ripe old age of 100, has died. Corroborate, of course. Look, Henry Kissinger dying is not... Heaven has not lost an angel.
Or gained an angel, as it were.
Yeah, they certainly did not gain one, if you believe in that. I don't. But look, if there is a hell, Henry Kissinger deserves to be there. One of the all-time worst people in politics, not just in American politics, all of politics, anywhere on the planet since forever. Okay.
One could say one of the absolute worst and most death-causing folks in post-World War II civilization.
Easily. Look, he was a foreign policy advisor and was the go-to guy for many Republican presidents who were just like, hey, are there brown people we can kill over there? And he was like, let's call Henry, see what he says. And he would basically advise some of the worst fucking positions in American history, foreign policy-wise. Look, it's the story that I linked to is a pretty good one. It kind of gives you a good overview of just the type of dirtbag Kissinger was. Just quickly, this is 5 of Henry Kissinger's worst war crimes. Doesn't mean it's all of them, just the worst ones, right? Number 1, which is the most obvious, if you know anything about history, the carpet bombing of Cambodia. Look, under Nixon, basically, he was just like, hey, at the height of the Vietnam War, hey, there's a Cambodian civil war. Why don't we really help with that by bombing the shit out of Cambodia, right? Causing unbelievable death. In total, the United States dropped 540,000 tons of bombs over Cambodia, killing around 150,000 civilians.
It's a good thing that we don't have any, current modern day corollaries that we can compare to, the indiscriminate bombing of an opposition force and catching a whole bunch of civilians in the wake.
Yeah.
Thank God that doesn't happen anymore, guys.
Yeah. Don't even think about it. Just don't even think about it. That's what they'd like you to do. Not even think about it. So, and actually now that you brought that up, obviously that's in reference to what's happening in the Gaza Strip. I want to pull that clip. I'll try to do it while we're talking of that conversation.
Oh, Mark Lamont Hill talking to David Friedman.
Yeah, Mark Lamont. Yeah, that was unreal. And this is a prime example of the unbelievable, insane rhetoric coming to the defense of Israel. Again, not that Israel doesn't have a legitimate argument about like bombing and killing its citizens, just their response is absolutely abhorrent. And that is the big argument, right? But we'll talk about that later. It's fucking fascinating. Number 2, engineering a fascist coup in Chile. Of course, look, when like the CIA gets involved in all of this shit, at the behest of people like Henry Kissinger, like countries get overthrown, military occupation happens, things like that. Chile was a very special case. Of course, a very famous military general ended up taking over Chile, Pinochet.
And staying for quite some time.
And killing lots of Chileans, like a lot. Anybody who opposed him, sort of, even the ideas of like what we refer to as like disappearing and things like that. Like he was infamous for doing that. Like unbelievable amounts of sort of intra-aggression of Chileans, and we helped back that shit. Like we did, right? The U.S. absolutely did. So, Brad, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, a lot's been made of the U.S., sticking their hand into the U.S. overthrowing leftist Latin regimes in Central and South America in the 70s and 80s. And that was all thanks to Henry Kissinger, who started that whole fucking trend that continued right up through the Reagan administration. So thanks, Hank.
I mean, certainly working to topple South American countries went even further than Reagan. I mean, you can look at just a number of years ago in like Colombia, things like that, right? So we're also responsible for that shit, or at least trying to meddle in those things. Look, here I teed up to you personally. I have a Pinochet story, an interesting Pinochet
Oh
story.
yes, that's right. You did.
Yes. So no, I did not know the man personally, but my wife and I went to Chile a number of years ago, like on vacation. A beautiful country, by the way, really interesting place. And we went to the Andes, right? Like on, like one of these like day trips or whatever. They get you up early as fuck in the morning and they're like, all right, get all your fucking winter gear and let's go. We go, it was like miserably cold, but then we actually got to the Andes and it was warm. It was weird. It was like 70 degrees. But we're on the bus trip going to the Andes, and this woman who is like a tour guide or whatever is telling us like, these are, like sort of the history of Chile and like, oh, and this, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, has anybody ever heard of Pinochet? And I'm like, sadly, yes. And a number of other people are like, yeah, of course. She's like, these are some of the unmarked graves that were found, like, of Chilean civilians, like, as we're driving. She was like, and they were like marked and shit, like now, of just like thousands of people. They just killed them, threw them off the road. Like, it was just insane, right?
Did she just mention that like matter of factly?
Yeah, they were like, this is where they found unmarked graves of just like tons of Chileans that Pinochet had killed. Like, yeah, this is part of it. She was like, yeah, people are like not too pleased with the history of Pinochet. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, it was just,
the understatement of the century.
Right. It was just like one of these weird moments where it was just like, there's a bunch of unmarked graves. Like, they were there. They found them since then, and it was all really terrible. It's like, yeah, that's pretty terrible. But good skiing just a couple of minutes away. It's like, cool, great. But yeah, it was just pretty fucking horrendous. But yeah, like the shit in Chile was pretty terrible. We also supported Argentina's dirty war under him. I'm not actually familiar with that one. Backing Indonesia's invasion of East Timor or Timor. Supporting Pakistan's genocide in Bangladesh, another fucking rather famous one. So, look, I'm not going to say that you should, celebrate the death of people. But what I will say is you should definitely celebrate the death of Henry Kissinger specifically. This is fine. No one will feel bad for you. You won't feel bad. Trust me. And if you don't know who Henry Kissinger is and you're like, man, I don't know, like, I feel slightly bad about like laughing about this, just read the article that I linked in the docket. You'll be fine. You'll feel absolved of all of your sins. It's cool.
And again, like, like when you how it is, like when you anticipate something happening and you wait a really long time for it, like just the build up to that and the catharsis when you finally get that release is immense. And we've been waiting for Henry Kissinger to die for at least the last 20 years.
20?
I'm just saying where it was like reasonable. That's like, man, he should probably be dying pretty soon because he's pretty old. Like, we've had to wait a really long time.
I'm thinking like 70 years. Like, surely, God, the great smoter, will should have smoted him many years ago. Obviously in the last 20 years, it's like, how is this guy? When every time they wheeled him out, I'm still alive. Like, fuck, really? Why? But no, look, this is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. He's one of the worst people to ever be at the levers of power, like quite literally. And again, you can just hate him for the carpet bombing of Cambodia alone, and that would be enough if he wasn't sufficiently a piece of shit in so many other ways. Killing 150,000 civilians is crazy.
Yeah, don't limit yourself to just one act of attempted genocide. Like, there's so many more to choose from when it comes to Henry Kissinger. So
yeah, look, there's so many. Everybody can pick their own and do your own book report. So yeah, it's pretty unbelievable that he's been around this long, but he ain't anymore. So that's
not anymore.
Progress.
He can hang out with Rush Limbaugh, who is also dead and has been for a while.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Hey guys, you remember that time Henry Kissinger and Rush Limbaugh died? It was awesome. All right, next up, second best story of the week, easily. I'll let you run with this one.
Yeah, so the House has expelled arguably the messiest bitch to ever sit in the halls of Congress. Of course, we are talking about New York Congressperson George Santos, who, in the wake of the Health Ethics Committee sending down the results of their investigation, and incoming, what is it, 23 count federal indictment that's around the corner for him. Democrats finally joined many of their Republican colleagues to overwhelmingly vote George Santos out of Congress, where he couldn't even bother to stay, like, for the final tally of the vote. Like, basically, once it got over the 2/3 mark, he was out of the building.
It's like, you know what? I don't need to be here for the final say.
Yeah, which you know, I get that. There's no reason to do that. Obviously, Republicans as a whole didn't want to have to do this because their majority in the House is currently very slim as it is,
right.
And losing another vote especially because his seat is very likely to be replaced by a Democrat in a special election is very bad for them. But at the same time, like, leaving this guy in Congress and embarrassing the rest of these New York Republicans that are in plus Biden districts is also pretty like it's gambling the other way. At least now those voters or those Congress people can go back to their voters and say, hey, like, we got rid of this corrupt asshole. You know, even though he's part of our party, let's get the fuck out of here. Fun fact, in case those were wondering, George Santos only the 6th person to ever be expelled from the House of Representatives. The first one in about 20 years for that to happen. And I think the first one to be, what was I going to say? Oh, the first one since, like, the Civil War, basically, to be expelled without,
I believe so.
Without being convicted of a crime, which is interesting.
Look, again, no, you know, like, this is fine. This is another thing that is absolutely fine. This is long overdue. Look, he should have been expelled after he was sworn in, and it turns out, like, that dude lied about being Jewish and said he was Jewish. That should have been it. Right? Like, come on, dude, that's insane. Yeah. Like if you're a Republican, you should be like, that's really offensive to try to use that as a way to, like, get people to support you. You're a dirtbag. Like, that should have been a rant right then. But of course, he had to continue lying. Now, here's the funny thing. CityandStateNY.com, which obviously has a very vested interest in George Santos. I never heard of this website, but God bless him for this article. George Santos lies ranked, because who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love that?
Oh my God.
So number 17 isn't that big of a deal. It's a city and state power list.
There's 17 that they ranked. Wow, you can just go top 10. I feel like.
No, they're going big. They're going big. One of the first lessons taught to journalists is to report the news, not be the news. So yeah, he apparently he said that he was, like, ranked on this website, and they're like, that's why they got offended. Like, you're not even ranked on our website. Like, top New Yorkers. Like, he just lied about it. No, that was number 17. Number 16. So here we start getting into the good ones. Number 16. He said he was not a drag queen. Obviously, we know that is false. Mm-hmm. By the way, today he came out and said that he is against marriage equality, even though he's married to a man. Yes.
He's homosexual.
Yeah. Yeah, quite open.
Okay.
Yeah, like,
okay.
All right. Sure, bro. You plan on getting a divorce? Like, what's happening? Like, we need to get rid of this law, like today. So yeah, was not a drag queen. Obviously, he was. He even had a different name and everything else. Like, it's just ridiculous.
What are the top 5? That's what I want to know. What are the top 5 Santos lies?
I am going. You got to give me 15 though. You got to let me do number 15.
Okay.
Because this one, Micah, as you're listening, this one is for you. He said that he was one of the producers on Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark Broadway play. Turns out he was not, which is hilarious. Number 14, he said he was a volleyball star at Baruch College. He was not. He did not even attend Baruch College, claiming that he was there on a volleyball scholarship. No, he was not. He said he was a Baruch College and NYU grad. Neither schools agrees that he ever attended those places. He said he worked on Wall Street. I believe he said he worked at Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. Both of those companies are like, he's never worked for us. He even said under oath, by the way, to a judge that, in fact, he used to work for Goldman Sachs. So perjury, cool. They should go after him for that, by the way. That would be fun. He, of course, said ancestors were Jewish refugees of the Holocaust. When he said, quote, he was Jewish, which is a real scumbag thing to do. He said he had employees who died at the Pulse nightclub shooting. He did not, which is a real, again, scumbag thing to do.
Real scumbag move.
Is it, Brad? Because number 8 is somehow even scummier. He said his mother died on 9/11 at the World Trade Center. Later, when he was called out about that, like, dude, your mom died in 2016. He goes, no. My mom was exposed to like chemicals at her office on 9/11. Then she later died in 2016 from cancer. And then, of course, people did further digging. It turns out, due to like immigration information, his mom not only was not in New York, she wasn't even in the United States during 9/11. Why'd you make it up? What do you think?
And that's number 8. That's number 8.
That's number 8. He lied about his 7-year marriage. Santos, who's been out gay for at least a decade, was legally married to a woman from 2012 to 2019 in what has the hallmarks of a scheme to get her U.S. citizenship. A man who dated him in 2013 said Santos promised him a green card if he married him. Santos also planned an engagement party with another man in 2014, but the party and the engagement never happened. Number 6, this is a doozy, committing check fraud in Brazil. That became a big thing. Number 5, says he is a multimillionaire. He told the House that he took $750,000 salary in 2021 and 2022, earned between $2 and $10 million in dividends from his company, had more than $1 million in his savings account, and a place in Brazil worth at least $500,000. Those in the capital introduction business said there's no way that's true. So cool. He says he's, quote, a friend of pets. For someone who claimed to run a charity called Friend of Pets United, Santos did a lot of dogs dirty. Though Friends of Pets United had a social media presence, he lied about being involved in that. He, of course, was a part of the big lie, so that's number 3. He did fake donations to his campaign. You could also add that he went and bought Ferragamo clothing and like all that shit and spent like, what is it, $6,000 on OnlyFans, and then lied and said he just learned about what OnlyFans was like a month ago. All right. Which he was even called out on Fox News about that. So that's number 2. And then number 1, Santos staffer pretends to be a staffer for Speaker Kevin McCarthy. A staffer for Santos claimed over phone calls and emails with potential donors to be Dan Meyer, chief of staff to now House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, or then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. The apparent aim was to pull in more donations by giving him a sense of legitimacy. Instead, it got Santos a formal complaint from the FEC. While other Republicans have disavowed Santos, McCarthy has treated him pretty normally. So, yeah.
It's just, like I said, we see, people who lie constantly in public, but like to see someone who just like lies so effortlessly, like this is like Trumpian levels.
Yeah, he
even outdoes Trump.
Yeah, he is a weird pathological liar, man. Like he's got a real fucking problem. So is he threatening to try to run again? Is that the deal?
Well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Like that seems like that'd be a really bad idea. But what else is funny is that he is threatening to basically go on a revenge tour and use the House Ethics Committee to go after some of those other New York Republicans who were instrumental in voting him out. He made 3 posts on Twitter saying that he'll be filing an ethics complaint against Nicole Maltakis, regarding her questionable stock trading since joining the Ways and Means Committee. He's going to go after Mike Lawler for questionable campaign finance violations, and then he's going to go after Nick LaLotta, saying that he basically attended law school while he was working at the Board of Elections. So we might not have heard the last of George Santos as he tries to get revenge for those who have wronged him. Like a real weird congressional Charles Bronson.
That's fun. Look, I love it. What's the dude's name? Tad Cadworth or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, remember he was trying to take down Republicans as well. After he got his ass booted, obviously just voted out. But like, it's interesting because Santos said very similar things that he said. Like, these people are out, sleeping around. They're like partying. They're doing drugs. He said all the same stuff. It's almost as if those guys were not lying about that. And then once freed from the shackles of being on that team, they were just like, I'm fucking saying everything. Yeah. The Republican Party
I'm going to air all the dirty laundry, spill all the tea.
Yeah. So. Look, dude, spill it. Do it. You fucking coward. So yeah, look, bye-bye. Sad news, I guess. Incidentally, Matt Gaetz frets about the House GOP's precarious majority now that George Santos is out.
Of course. Well, Gaetz did not vote to boot him. There was about 114 Republicans that voted, 112 Republicans voted to keep him in, and 2 Democrats voted present. I don't know who the 2 Democrats were. But yeah, there were, like, especially the MAGA loonies were trying to hang on to him as much as they possibly could, because they know that it's going to make it that much harder to negotiate when they have a 3-vote majority now, I think.
Something like that.
As things stand currently. Yeah.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is ironic, right? Because he called the expulsion of Santos, quote, tactically stupid. Yeah, that's interesting. Like,
wow, that's just I mean, shoot comments that aren't meant to be shoot comments right there. So
I mean, like, bro, what did you do a couple weeks ago? Like, what are you responsible for? Like, do you think we forgot? Like, you threw Congress or the House into chaos for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
just to get your guy installed with the same narrow majorities that you had before, basically. Good job.
And doing the same thing Kevin McCarthy was doing the same thing. Like, so it's like, for you to be like tactically stupid. Relax.
It's by the way, it's crazy to me. Like, George Santos hasn't even been in Congress for a year, and that boggles my mind. Like, we had so much Santos over the last 15 months between the last couple months of the election and then once he got in and started acting a fool. Like, I'm just like, I feel like he's been there forever, but like, no, literally
a decade?
10 or 11 months basically.
I love it. Good, kick him out. That's great. Good fun had by all. Well, by us. All right, this is also you put this one up. This Trump story is fucking wild. Go for it.
Yeah, I did. So Donald Trump is basically doing the equivalent of just throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks in his various legal defenses that he's trying to mount against 91 federal indictments and a civil charge. Mm-hmm. So he basically appealed to both Judge Chutkan in DC for the January 6th case and to civil lawyers basically trying to say that because he was the former president, not current president, former president, that he's immune from prosecution in the United States of America.
That's really not how that works, bro. Like, that just that would make that, if that were true,
mm-hmm.
you could then become president, leave the presidency, and just commit crimes all you want. Like, they're like just shooting people, just do whatever you want. What kind of
the argument that he's making is that because he was the president when the alleged crimes were committed, that he has immunity from prosecution because whatever his nonsense here is. Yeah, basically, Judge Chutkan, in knocking this down, said the office of the president, quote, does not confer a lifelong get out of jail free pass.
No, like, and the fact that they even think it does, and they look. By the way, I know they don't actually believe that. They're scrounging
right.
to find an answer. Yeah, no, it's no, that doesn't work. And look, they should have knocked it down. It's ridiculous. It's just an utterly ridiculous thing to say. He's woefully unprepared for what is coming for him. And they don't know what to do. His lawyers are completely feckless because, in fairness to them, they've got a client that their case is so obviously fucked for them. They don't know what to do. They're just like, I guess he's immune. Can we try that? No, fuck. All right. Like, go back to the big guy and be like, nah, that shit didn't work either, dude. Like, they don't have anything. They just simply don't have anything, and I don't know why you would even want to take that job, like, as a lawyer. I just do not understand why you want to. Besides money. So, good. All right, let's talk about the debate between.
Oh my God.
Ron DeSantis and an adult. Look, I'm not sure there was a better example of Republican policies, or it's not even really Republican policies, but I guess you could say Republican social policies are a bunch of mean-spirited bullshit, and Democrats get things done, like real things done. It was an embarrassing debate, the clips that I've seen of it. I didn't really hear much from DeSantis that I thought was particularly convincing. I mean, if you like Ron DeSantis, I guess you like Ron DeSantis. But I found nothing that he said to be particularly convincing of anything.
Well, here's the other thing too that I have to bring up. So this debate was held on the Sean Hannity White Power Hour on Fox News.
Correct.
And Sean Hannity was the quote unquote moderator for this debate, and he even took great pains to say, hey, like, I'm just going to be the moderator here. I'm not gonna, I'm just calling balls and strikes. Like, I'm just reading the questions. Like, this will be fine. And then basically proceeded to hurl softballs at DeSantis and frame questions in the most unfair light possible when asking Gavin Newsom questions. And he also ran cover for DeSantis when Newsom had him on the ropes. Like, Hannity would try to move the debate along. So he was not a neutral arbiter in this process whatsoever. So Gavin Newsom went on to Fox News against a Republican darling with basically a crooked umpire, and still came out, as I said, looking like the 2028 presidential frontrunner, basically. Coming out of this debate.
I don't even think it's a fucking debate. Like, look, before we get into the shit that was said, Kamala Harris, step aside. Step aside. Like, this is over, baby. Like, it's over. Like, this guy has cemented himself as a front runner. Whether he ends up winning the nomination, who knows? Get the fuck out of here, dude. He looked perfect in this debate. He did. He had the exact right temperament, which is, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I know you guys are full of shit. I'm not going to be mealy-mouthed about it. I'm going to have just enough acerbic behavior to go, guy's kind of a dick. But if you agree with him, you're like, yeah, but I mean, this guy's making a lot of sense. Like, yeah, he's, that's what people want. They want a fighter, but they don't want somebody who's just going to be like a bully, but they want a fighter. And Newsom is a fighter.
Let me tell you this. Newsom KO'd DeSantis in his opening remarks, because he basically ended his opening statement by saying to DeSantis, the only thing you and I have in common is neither of us are going to be the nominee for our party in the 2024 presidential election. Like, that is devastating. And it's why, as a presidential candidate, you don't run against a guy who's not currently a presidential candidate, or you don't debate a guy who's not currently a presidential candidate. Like, that's so stupid. Why would you do this, Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, and it was funny because Newsom had comment, like, he was like, listen, when you took the debate, you took the bait. I got you to debate me, proving that you're not even interested in this actual run for president because you've already lost. I mean, Newsom had that line. He goes, you're trying to be Trump. You're trying to out-Trump Trump from the right. He goes, and how's that working out for you? You're 40 points behind. It's like, geez.
In your own state. In your own state, he said. And he literally said, like, when are you going to get out of the way and give and actually give Nikki Haley a real shot to take on Trump? Like basically saying what everyone fucking knows. And again, like he was I'm sorry, the 2024 comment was his closing statement, not his opening statement. But like he was just landing fucking haymakers left and right. Like basically they wanted to talk about COVID because DeSantis is like, oh, like he was this fucking hardliner and he was like the best governor on COVID or whatever. Meanwhile, like people were dying in his state left and right, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. And Newsom basically called him out and was like, look, he's like you followed Fauci up until it became politically inconvenient to do so. And then all of a sudden you reversed course. He's like, you guys closed down before California did. He's like, because you were following the science. He's like, and then you reverse course and you cause like fucking thousands of people in your state to fucking die because of what you did, you dumb fuck. And you did it for politics. Like literally that's what he said. He crushed him on fucking basically on immigration. He called out DeSantis for the stunts that he was running of, going into Texas, busing people up to Martha's Vineyard, and then busing people all around. And he humanized it in a really smart way. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, this is bad politics. He's like, I don't like the way you treat immigrants. Like, I don't like the way you treat people that are a lower stature than you. He's like, you're a bully. Look, here's the thing. And this, it was funny. Like a little behind the scenes, right? Like in the network that we have, a podcast, right? I was talking to one of our other hosts, Micah, and he was saying that he was listening to an interview with Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, who is running for president. Okay. It's all about me. It's all about me. Yeah, right.
Knock it off. He was interviewing. He was being interviewed on The Breakfast Club, right? Which is a useless place to be interviewed, as far as I'm concerned. I know. That's how you get to the black community. Yeah, black people do more than just listen to rap music. Like, relax. And those guys are terrible interviews, but whatever. So he was on there, and Michael was like, "This guy really like there's something about him that's rubbing me the wrong way." And I told him, I said, "Listen, you have to remember, even though Cenk is not a Republican, he grew up as a Republican. He was a Republican for a very, very long time, and then became a leftist, right?" And the reason why I bring that up is because Cenk's entire view of politics is he has very liberal policies, which is perfectly fine, and I probably agree with 95% of them, right? Or maybe even higher than that. But his tactics, I don't agree with. And his tactic is to be a bully. And his tactic is to just be as brutal as you can be in politics to win. Now, what he would say is, that's how you win. That's why Republicans beat Democrats and stuff like that. But the thing is, and it's the same thing with DeSantis, and Gavin points it out, Democrats don't want bullies. Look, Democrats would rather lose than to become Republicans, dude. They would. Now, you could say that's a terrible fucking long-term plan or whatever, but I would make the argument that you can win without being a bully, right? Now, what probably Cenk and I would probably agree with is Democrats have to be a little more forceful and like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try to push our policy and stuff like that. I would probably tend to agree with him. But the bully tactics, they don't work. They actually turn Democratic voters off. But when you are steeped in thinking that that's how politics works from Republicanism, and then you adopt the policies of the left, you still think the tactics of the right are what works universally. They do not. That's why he lost in California. That's why he will lose as a presidential nominee. Also, he has no chance. Like, you will never win with Democrats overall because you think that way. That's just a fundamental, right? It's just a fundamental. It's not your policies. The policies, Democrats largely agree with you, right? So Gavin pointing out, and I bring this back to Newsom's point, that's the MO if you want to fight the Republicans on the national stage. Point out that they're bullies, right? They are bullying immigrants. They are bullying women. They are bullying minorities. People don't like bullies, on like leftists, true leftists who didn't grow up and turn to being liberals or whatever, but they were like, their families are liberal. They have been liberal. That is who they are. It is a part of what is imprinted on them. They don't like bullies. Right? Mm-hmm. That's a thing that is a resonating fucking thing. And you could say, it's probably because they're a bunch of fucking little like nerds or whatever. Maybe. It might be as simple as that. But Democrats don't like bullies. And if you can point out that Republicans are bullies, and they are, that will resonate with people. And there's a reason they use that word. Because it's an easy thing for everyone to understand. Everyone can you visualize the kid from A Christmas Story beating up Ralphie and his little brother, right? When they're like running home from school. You can visualize what a bully is versus something else. It was some, archaic political term. You don't need to use that. People understand it's like, you're the little guy, you're the big guy, and you have more power, and you're kicking the shit out of this guy for no reason. That is exactly the way you should frame it. So, bully tactics do not work coming from the left. They don't work.
So the other thing that I think DeSantis and Hannity wanted to accomplish is they wanted to basically have Newsom be a stand-in for Joe Biden in this debate, and basically have DeSantis or have Newsom kind of answer for the Biden administration, which then they just kept hammering on California, which, if you want him to, hammer on Biden, then fucking talk about national shit, but okay. But a cool moment there is so Sean Hannity literally asked the question to Gavin Newsom. It sure seems like Joe Biden doesn't have all his mental faculties. Does Joe Biden have all his mental faculties?
Solid question.
Which is a ridiculous question in a quote unquote debate.
When's the last time when did you stop beating your wife?
Yeah. And I really like Newsom's answer, because not only did he not ascribe to like this Hannity, that question that Hannity asked, but he also went and he's like, hey, like I'd rather take Joe Biden at 100 over Ron DeSantis or any Republican, because it's not about like, oh, he tripped over this word or whatever here or there, but it's about what you do. It's about like what you accomplish while you're there. And then he proceeded to like list off all the accomplishments of the Biden administration, and then turned it around on DeSantis and was like, here's all the shit that you've gotten done while you're in Florida. Like you put in like a restrictive abortion ban, and you're fucking, banning 1,400 books from Florida schools and shit like that. He's like, you're not doing anything for your citizens. He's like, you're just in culture wars all day long.
I mean, facts, bro.
What the fuck? Where's the lie?
Right? Yeah, like where's the lie? Like, dude, right. DeSantis has done nothing but culture war bullshit, because that is what gives Republicans red meat. That's it.
Yep.
Not actual policies to help anyone, right? Well, you could say those policies help people who are bigoted against gay folks, or they're like, but not like overall, hey man, we're building roads. Like, hey man, we're doing big infrastructure projects, except for the ones that take credit for that Joe Biden.
That was the other thing that he hit DeSantis with as well. He's like, you sit here and complain about Bidenomics. He's like, last week, he's like, you were celebrating Bidenomics. He's like, you got $28 million from the Chips and Science Act in your state. He's like, and you were out here trumpeting that. He's like, so, he's like, you love it too. Yeah. So my favorite moment of the debate, and I guess you should bring some stuff that you want to make sure you get out there at a debate, but you shouldn't be so steadfast to that you don't respond in real time to things. And this is a good example of why. So I think as part of an extrapolating conversation about gun violence, Newsom brought up the fact that Florida has the third worst mental health system in the country, behind Mississippi and Texas. And DeSantis's response to this was he held up a map that was like, had like a heat map, but it's like all brown and yellows and stuff like that. And he's like, this is a map of the greatest like concentration in San Francisco, where you can find like feces on the ground. That was his retort to like, hey, like your state's mental health system is a fucking joke. He's like, but poop.
People are pooping on the ground. Look, man, that's a real fucking problem. I'm not gonna lie. It's fucking gross. Not a very good response, though. Not a very good response. It makes you seem childish and ridiculous.
Yes.
I'm sure they were like high-fiving each other when they came up with that idea. It's not a good one. Like, okay. Yeah. And how many mass shootings and all this other shit's going on?
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah, like we've loosened these gun laws and I mean, DeSantis called him out on his response to Parkland specifically, like in the face.
Newsom called DeSantis out.
Yeah, sorry. And again, like DeSantis' response is, that's doo-doo, baby. Like, I don't have anything to tell you. Sorry.
That's all I got. Like,
yeah.
We workshopped this for 3 weeks.
Right.
This is the best response we have. And look,
they pick the colors and everything. Like it's super brown here because that's where you have the most poop.
Yeah, hey, look, it's right by the fish market. You don't like that? Like, look, it's a disgusting situation to have happen. But again, not a very good response in a debate. Like you look silly. Look, I am one of these people. I'm a lame person, I guess. Like, I don't like to see those videos of like people doing a bunch of like flash mob robbings in stores in California and shit like that. I think they need to do something about it. I think it's ridiculous that they're like, well, as long as it's like $2,500 worth of stuff, it's fine. No, you can't just have people just breaking the law. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, it's nuts. And I know when people are like, well, it's only merchandise in his back. No, dude. There's a level of lawlessness that's not a good idea. You just don't do that.
Yeah.
Does that mean cops come in and shoot people? No, obviously.
Yeah. I think it's usually a pretty good, like if you have a one-on-one debate, it's usually a pretty good sign the person who's losing is the one who's typically trying to talk over the other person 100%. As much as possible. 100%. And like every clip that I saw was like DeSantis trying to talk over Newsom, like when Newsom spouted a fact that he didn't like, instead of just like, piling that stuff up and unleashing it like in his rebuttal, because Hannity would have given DeSantis as much time as he fucking wanted to. Yep. Jesus Christ, Hannity was so in the tank for DeSantis, by the way, that like he and his producers had like fucking graphics whipped up for DeSantis like talking points that they were then able to like show on the screen when DeSantis brought up something. Like it's like, hey, blah blah blah. Oh, we have a graph for that we can show the viewers.
So,
like that's
we just don't happen to have that. We just have
good job, guys. So yeah, so again, really, really dumb, unforced error by Ron DeSantis even doing this. Yeah. And look, Gavin Newsom went into the Lion's Den, and he came out smelling like $1 million. I'm not typically one for giving help to boost like the fucking ratings of like Hannity and Laura Ingraham and shit like that. Right. But basically Newsom is doing what Pete Buttigieg did in 2020. Like he's going onto hostile airways to deliver. And again, Newsom even said this himself. I'm going to talk to your viewers and let them hear things that they've never heard on this network before because you guys don't talk about it.
I mean, where is the lie?
Right.
So I do want to play, just before we get out of here, I do want to actually play for people so they can actually see what Newsom was saying in that sort of closing. I think it's his closing argument. So here you go.
I'm here. I'm here to tell the truth about the Biden-Harris record and also compare and contrast Ron DeSantis' record and the Republican Party's record as a point of contrast that's as different as daylight and darkness. You want to bring us back to a pre-1960s world, America in reverse. You want to roll back hard-earned national rights on voting rights, on civil rights, on LGBTQ rights, on women's rights, not just access to abortion, but also access to contraception. You want to weaponize grievance. You are focusing on false separateness. You in particular, Ron, are on a banning binge, a cultural purge, intimidating and humiliating people you disagree with. You and President Trump are really trying to light democracy on fire. So, Sean, there are profound differences tonight, and I look forward to engaging. But there's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither
of us are going to be.
Neither of us are going to be the nominee.
Yeah, that was it. That was his opening statement. By the way.
So many awkward DeSantis smiles too, man. That guy is just like not a normal person.
No, he's clearly a roach monster wearing a human skin suit. First there was Ted Cruz. Now there's Ron DeSantis. They're really bad at the whole human thing over there on the right. They're bad at it, dude. It's not a lot of them who are pretty good at just like being a normal fucking person. So yeah, that was certainly something. Certainly was. Next up, Florida GOP chair and husband of Moms of Liberty president accused of rape. Of course.
Of course. Who could have possibly seen this coming?
Yeah, who could have seen it? Look, I'm shocked. I'm definitely shocked by all of this. Look, the Moms of Liberty are a scumbag organization of women, not really, who are just trying to weaponize this idea of a concerned mom against, the horrible gay liberal agenda or drag queen agenda or whatever non-conformist 1950s housewife nonsense is going on in the world, progress. And so they're trying to foment this idea of like, join us and we're going to keep it pure and how it was where all ladies wore dresses and had a steak in the pan for their husbands when they got home, right? Like that's literally, it's like the wives on Mad Men who didn't want to just like murder Don Draper.
Well, so, and not only that, but like the organization it's kind of akin to the Federalist Society, where they're basically recruiting right-wing moms to and basically training them and one could say grooming them to learn how to run for like school boards and win these elections to get onto these local school boards where then they, once they have the majority of folks there, they can just do whatever the fuck they want, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, I like cool. Another garbage organization creating more garbage people. Like, can't wait. Please add more D-bags to the fire. Thank you.
Yes.
Look, so yeah, this guy busted for rape and sexual assault. Of course.
Well, is being investigated. They've not arrested him yet.
Yeah. Look, I'm not shocked. Thou protest too much. Like it. Every one of these guys gets busted for dirty fucking behaviors because they are trying to, use their morality as a cudgel to beat people over the head. It's like, these drag queens are ruining kids. Meanwhile, you're trying to fuck kids. Like, it's just like over and over and over again. And I don't understand how the general public that are not, terminally involved in this shit like we are, like, I don't understand how those folks don't see this and be like, another one? Like, it's really weird. Yeah, dude, stop listening to these people. They're always scummy.
Well, like I said, it's easy when you can just like turn a blind eye to anything that inconveniences your narrative or your preconceived thoughts. So
yeah, no kidding. Look, I when I saw this story, I was like, that's not a surprise at all.
No, it did not even faze me at all. So
yeah. It's like I'm
so cool.
It took this long.
but I cannot wait because a lot of those, especially the board that Ziegler is on, the Moms for Liberty board in Sarasota, like a lot of those meetings, those board meetings, end up going viral on like TikTok and shit like that. So I absolutely cannot wait for Sarasotans to just basically throw this shit in her face incessantly and constantly during these during these board meetings. It's gonna be fucking amazing.
Oh, she's gonna quit. Nobody wants to hear, hey, isn't your spouse a fucking rapist? Like over and over and
like, well, not only that, but reportedly, she and her like the person accusing Christian Ziegler of rape, she and her husband were in a throuple situation with this woman.
Yeah.
And do as I say, not as I do.
And do her and her. Like, dude.
Yes.
It's just hilarious. And look, there's nothing wrong if you want to be in a threesome. You want to have you want to get your rocks off. No problem, man. Look, I got zero issues with that. I may or may not have seen videos like that on the internet. It's fine. It's fine. My issue is Stop judging others about
Right.
their lives when you are doing something that you know is outside of whatever the standard is, right?
Or just stop administering yourself as like the moral authority essentially in these situations, which they are doing when you in fact behave in a way that some cohort of yours might find immoral, actually.
Or
Not us
interesting.
though, because we are the tolerant left. So
Yeah, I look. I 100% support your life choice to do this, and you should, in fact, not put it online because I think you're both gross. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll watch something else and think of not you. So, yeah, it's just weird because of course, like, oh, and they were in a throuple with this person. Of course they were. Of course they were.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be? It couldn't just. Weirdly, it couldn't just be like a random woman. You also are like having an extramarital affair too. Of course.
yeah,
like,
real
doubling
echo
it.
the whole Jerry Falwell Jr. Situation.
Yeah, you don't hear too much from him. Yeah, remember that time,
Right.
dude? Did I tell you I watched the documentary about the guy who they were like hired to like the cuckold or the cuck
the pool boy. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the cuckler versus Jerry Falwell Jr. being the cucky or just the cuck, or maybe the wife is the cucky. I don't.
Cuck, yeah.
That was a wild documentary, dude. Like it was
I'll
I
bet.
watched like half of it. I was like, I feel almost uncomfortable knowing the level of information that's being told about this. It was wild, but I can't turn away. It was crazy. Brad, next up,
Yeah.
North Dakota Governor Doug Burgam suspends his campaign for president.
I just want to point out that in the docket, when I wrote the description of the headline, I said North Dakota Governor Doug Burgam, quote unquote, suspends his quote unquote campaign for president.
Yeah, I'm confused because I was confused by the fact that who the fuck is Doug Burgam?
Well, Doug Burgam has been on stage so far for all of the Republican primary presidential debates. I don't know if you know that because he had about the effectiveness in those debates of an umbrella stand, standing over on one of the extreme edges of the stage, and nobody remembered anything about him. But he was in fact running for president.
Yeah.
And now he is no longer running for president.
Look, I got to tell you, this is the best quote I saw about this in response to this was on Reddit. Quote, "This is a real shock. I didn't even know who this guy was."
And I will say, though I was aware that Doug Burgam was running for president in the Republican primary, this picture that we have in the link story of Doug Burgam is literally the first time that I've ever seen Doug Burgam.
Someone said Eugene Levy is probably pissed that SNL is not going to call him.
It was a long shot, but I think Eugene Levy would have been the guy if Doug Burgam had made it somewhere in this election.
Doug Burgam.
Yeah.
Like just what a joke.
I also love that he defaulted to the normal like also ran candidate excuse when he drops out. He's like, it's actually not fair that they have these like donor and fucking poll thresholds that to get on a debate stage. Actually, like the people should just decide. I'm like, bro, the people have been deciding. Like they do look at poll numbers, and no one knows who you are or cares. So what the fuck do you mean? Let the people decide. They did.
They absolutely do not give a fuck who you
right.
are. Like, so yeah, it's. Dude, just give it to that fucking dickbag. Like for the love of God, let's just be done with this. This is just
or just like I said, Newsom's right. Like fucking everyone else on that stage should fucking yeet out of there and let Nikki Haley have a real go at it because again, she has shown that she's probably the only one who stands even a chance.
She does. Look, man. Again, I am not a fan of Nikki Haley as a politician. But I will give her absolute credit. She's looking pretty goddamn good in these debates.
Yeah.
She is. She's looking pretty good in these debates. But, again, these guys don't learn lessons. They don't learn lessons. So
and again, someone like her would like one of the biggest problems they have is that they have a lot of these like moderate Republicans who bail on the party basically and will not or never Trump. she would absolutely bring those people back into the fold. Like all these like fucking
She
never
would.
Trumpers out there,
She
like
would.
Bill Kristol and Tom Nichols and all these people that fucking, you know, Steve Schmidt and all these guys, like they would absolutely fall right back in line if you had a Nikki Haley.
Yeah, the Lincoln
leading
Project
the
would
way.
be dead. It would. Okay, next up, let's head back to the Gaza Strip, Brad.
Yeah.
Fun times.
I don't mean to make light of the Hamas attack on Israel back on October 7th, but I feel like that this is too apt a comparison. I feel like when people said that attack was Israel's 9/11, they weren't intending to in this respect. But how about some very strange corollaries? Because it might appear that Israeli intelligence, according to the New York Times, was actually in possession of the Hamas battle plan for the October 7th attack more than a year before the attack actually happened. And in fact, apparently or reportedly, a Israeli intelligence official witnessed a rehearsal of the attack, and they did not do any acting or took it seriously, apparently.
Yeah, like the most apt sort of one-to-one of like this is their 9/11 was the unbelievably ridiculous response attacking the people who did not in fact attack them.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the ultimate one. And I don't mean Hamas, I mean the innocent civilians living in the Gaza Strip who are suffering by the thousands. So yeah, look, this is a really interesting story as far as having information. And I don't know if it's arrogance or what, right? I don't want to. I don't want to lean into conspiracy theory nonsense because I think it's a very easy one to be like, well, they let it happen because they want. Like that's a easy.
I don't even know if
nonsense.
that's a conspiratorial view. I think that's just an extremely cynical view.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
right, but but I think that would lend to that sort of like. They wanted it to do it so they could kill a bunch of people. I think that like lends to like a bit of like anti-Semitism, to be honest. Like that's what the sneaky Jews would do, right? Like, and I don't obviously I don't think that's what you think either. But that's why I don't want to lean into that because I think sort of the conspiracy theory nonsense is for the intellectually lazy, right? I think actually what is more likely is their arrogance is what caused this, right? What could Hamas do to us? I mean, look at all this stuff we have. They're just throwing rocks kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It turns out, no, we're fucking
and my concern too is that this report, if it's accurate, because Israel won't comment on it right now. But if it's accurate, there's no reason to suggest that it wouldn't be. Will even more harden Benjamin Netanyahu from leaving or from stopping the war, because if this is true, then that war is all that's keeping him in power right now. Because if him especially, who his whole thing is like, yeah, you may not like me and I'm a piece of shit, but I can keep you safe from the Palestinians. That's his whole fucking bag. If it's found out that under his watch you knew this was going to happen and you didn't do anything to stop it, you're done. Like, you're done. So like he's going to dig his heels in even more to try to make sure that he does not that nothing happens to him. So
yeah, look, it's the entire thing, like from a narrative perspective, is like, or the narratives that have been presented to us are lopsided nonsense. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. One of the big problems that I personally have with all of this is that we have people taking hardline support of two right-wing governments that are using people in the middle and using that support as a means of stoking incredible violence against both people, right? You could say, and this is the thing that drives me crazy, like on like social media and stuff like that. Yes, the Palestinians are being treated like garbage, 100%. It is 1,000 times worse what is happening right now than what is happening to Jews, Israelis right now. Don't dismiss what's happened to Israelis historically, there. Like, you can't just be like, it's not that big of a deal. Don't do that, because that is doing the work. That is doing the very lazy work of understanding what the human toll is, right? Because there is human toll on both sides. If you're going to be intelligent about this and you're going to talk about it intelligently, you need to understand that there is human toll on both sides, right? We don't need to count numbers because this is not the oppression Olympics. Like a kid getting killed, an Israeli kid getting killed is just as horrifying as a Palestinian kid getting killed, right? Unless you're what's his face that was debating a couple of weeks ago, right? Alan Dershowitz, right? Well, is it that bad, right? Like that kind of shit. But in the minds of normal brained individuals, they're equally terrible, right? So you should have sympathy for Israelis that have been unjustifiably killed in this shit, as with Palestinians. The problem is, people like to pretend that the other side of whatever argument are not as bad, right? They justify it in weird ways. But fundamentally, I don't like the idea of supporting either one of these far right-wing governments. You could say the Israeli government is less right-wing than Hamas, which is a far, far extremist group, sure, but 6 on one hand, half a dozen on the other. At the end of the day, people are getting shot based on their policies that are just pushing citizens up against each other and saying these people are trying to kill you, and meanwhile they're shooting guns above their head at the other guy, right? So it's not. It is a recipe for disaster, right?
Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.